Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a different kind of power, one that, doesn't require you to be the loudest person in the room. This is a guide for introverted leaders, and it's not about changing who you are. It's about completely redesigning how you lead.
So if you're an introvert, does this slide just hit home? That feeling of being constantly completely drained? It comes from this pressure to perform a certain kind of leadership, one that honestly feels like a costume that just doesn't quite fit. We're always told what a leader should be, but what if that whole myth is what's holding us back? And this right here, this is the core conflict, isn't it? The myth of leadership says you have to be loud, you have to be on 24/7. But for an introvert, that is a direct path to burnout. It's not sustainable. So let's explore a different way. And that brings us to this really powerful idea: delegation without depletion. Now, this is not just about handing off tasks, no way. It's about building a smart system that lets you lead powerfully from behind the scenes, so you can actually conserve your energy for what really, truly matters. The goal is to share power constantly, but, and this is key, never lose authority. Just think about that for a second. It's not about giving up control. It's about exercising it in a much smarter way. You're sharing the responsibility, but you're not abandoning your authority. Let's see how that works, starting with our first pillar. All right, first up, sustainable energy. This is all about treating your energy as your most valuable resource. Seriously, think of it like an internal battery. If that thing is empty, you just can't lead effectively. To do that, we've got 4 core principles. And these aren't just simple tips, okay? They form a complete toolkit for conserving your energy, helping you move from direct, hands-on execution to multiplying your impact through others. So this starts with decoupling your ego from the work. When you delegate the execution, but not your identity, a team's failure doesn't become your personal failure. That separation is what prevents that deep emotional drain. At the same time, you own the guiding principles, but not every single outcome. This frees you from the absolutely exhausting task of micromanaging. So many leaders, especially when they feel a little insecure, fall right into this trap of constant surveillance. This feeling that you have to always be watching, always be present, just to make sure things are done right. For an introvert, this is a massive, massive energy drain. It's basically like being on stage all day long. So what's the alternative? Well, instead of watching people, you build a system. Through automation, through clear processes, and a really strong culture, you become present invisibly. Your control comes from the design of the system itself, not from your constant physical presence. Believe me, this one shift alone can save you massive amounts of energy. And the last piece of this whole energy puzzle is realizing that sharing power actually multiplies it. It really does. When you share credit and knowledge and opportunity, you escape that scarcity mindset that tells you to hoard control. And this builds a more trusting, self-sufficient team, which, you guessed it, ultimately protects your energy. Okay, pillar 2 is all about protective boundaries. This is where we build a strong emotional framework. For any introvert, managing the mental load of constant interaction is just crucial, and clear boundaries, they're your best defense. And here are the 4 principles that make it all work. Each one is designed to use structure to replace potential conflict. The whole idea is to design the rules of the game ahead of time so you don't have to waste your energy constantly being the referee. This all starts with creating predictability. By setting clear frameworks for autonomy up front, the rules of the sandbox, you prevent so much chaos later on. And that means fewer of those draining confrontations. Part of that framework is also rewarding true alignment with your values, which helps you avoid the exhausting social game of flattery and office politics. It's also so crucial to stop overprotecting your team. I know it's tempting to rescue people from their mistakes, but that is a massive energy drain for you. Real ownership, real growth, it happens when people experience the actual consequences of their choices. This protects your emotional energy because you're no longer the designated rescuer. Our final pillar is all about wielding influence through design and direction, not through these constant loud displays of dominance. This is really where an introvert's natural strengths can shine. So, how do you actually do that? Well, here are 4 principles for leading effectively from the background. They're all about maximizing your impact while minimizing your time in that exhausting spotlight.
A huge part of this is structural alignment. When everyone on your team deeply understands the mission, the why behind the work, they start to protect it themselves. They actually become self-directed. And this dramatically reduces your need to constantly be giving verbal instructions and course correcting all the time.
This is all about playing the long game. I mean, think about it. High conflict, public corrections are incredibly draining. A quiet, private conversation is just so much more effective, and it conserves your energy. Your ultimate goal here is to build a self-renewing system, one that can thrive even without you. And that is what finally creates the space you need for deep thinking and restoration.
So let's pull all of this together. How do we turn this entire philosophy into an actionable playbook? Let's really redefine what your role as a leader even looks like. These are the core takeaways. I want you to think of yourself less as a constant motivator and more as the quiet architect of a system that is designed for success. Your power doesn't come from being the loudest person in the room. It comes from having designed the room itself. This is your path to sustainable, powerful leadership.
And that's the question I really want to leave you with. What if true strength isn't about constant performance, but about thoughtful design? It's a fundamental reframing of leadership. Thank you for watching The Explainer.